All right, welcome back to another episode of Kameo with Nevin Webster. I am at the Downtown Victoria Street Cowboy Coffee. For all those people who understand that reference, my next guest, she guessed the reference.
Yeah, I definitely did. I've been around long enough to
She's
remember.
been around.
Yeah.
Let's see if I've been practicing how to say your name well enough with my wife.
Okay.
Acacia.
Yeah, Acacia, you got it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You have no idea how long it took me to learn to say that.
It's a weird name, and I've heard everything. So.
Do you know its
I get it.
origins?
Yeah, it's actually a tree that grows in the Philippines, and I'm half Filipino, so my family really wanted a name that represented that part of our culture. So yeah, that's where it came from.
I would never have guessed it was the name of a tree.
Yeah. So the acacia tree is like a massive tree, and it's actually you see it a lot in African movies and deserts and stuff. So
Oh, really?
It's the one that kind of goes outwards.
It's a really
of
nice
life.
motif for your life.
Yeah,
And you're really well rooted in this community,
I am.
and that's through the Chamber of Commerce. So you are their executive director, very young, which is awesome. You know, the next generation taking hold of the town, I support. And when did you start your role at the Chamber, or when did you become involved in the Chamber? Because you've been there for years, long before this new fancy title.
Yeah, so actually my involvement with the Chamber has been over the last 10 years. I was Miss Kamloops in 2008, and so I volunteered at tons of Chamber events while I was still in high school. And then when I was Miss BC in 2012, I also attended Chamber events. So
These are pageants?
Yeah, they're self-development programs, and they're youth ambassador programs. A lot of people give them the stigma of being a beauty pageant, but none of what we do with those programs has to do with physical appearance at all.
It's really okay. So obviously, I'm going Miss Congeniality immediately.
Like everybody does. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate because I think a lot of the time the crowns really draw people in, but the work that the young women do through the program is actually around supporting and helping their community. So they go to upwards of 80 volunteer events in the year, and they do things like running registration for not-for-profits or cheering runners on when it's a charity walk. And so they also work with other young kids in the community, trying to teach them about leadership skills. And so I actually work on that committee. I've been on the committee since 2010, and I teach their public speaking. So I
cool.
work with young women, teaching them how to speak, which is great. But for tradition's sake, it's a pageant, right?
Yeah.
And so,
But I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I'm becoming increasingly obsessed with this. So we have social media, which has this new hierarchy, which is likes and followers, right? But then I can see what people I respect, like Gary Vaynerchuk, is doing with his sporting teams, right? It's well, if you're a professional sports person, you got to be, the perfect community shining example.
Yes.
Right? You're memorialized on a sports card. Your stats are there, and you got to be this perfect community member.
Yeah.
And it's interesting seeing how we're seeing a resurgence of these other opportunities for people to kind of really shine, right? And soccer I think is a great one for an international level, right? Because soccer's exploding.
Yeah.
FIFA, the video game, contributes to that, and we can look even locally, like you have the Kamloops Blaze, which I think is hilarious because everything's about Blazers.
Well, and look at how many people in the community that impacts, right? There's so many families that their lives revolve around that sport or whatever it is. And in that you build a community, and the people who rise to the top are generally your best players, but they also need to be seen as community leaders because that is increasingly important to people. They want to like people all around. They don't just want to like them because they're good at sports. Right?
Totally. It's that 360 side of things. And I forget that all the time. I really work on certain aspects of my personality and be
Yeah,
I can be trash over there.
But you know what? It's really hard to be on all the time, right? And
Totally.
You're kind of in the business of talking with people and being on, and it's tough. That's my job, is just talking with people. And I find there's days I just want to hide away in my house because I'm done talking to people.
What does the Chamber do? Because you hear about what they're doing in the community and you hear all these little initiatives, but I feel like a lot of people still are confused about what the power of a bunch of businesses coming together in one umbrella can actually accomplish. So what's the Chamber's role in the Kamloops community?
So, the Chamber's been around since 1896, and when the Board of Trade was created then, it was helping determine where highways were going through a city, where train tracks were going through a community, so how commerce would happen in those areas. So obviously infrastructure has grown, so chambers don't necessarily have to have a role in that, but they still have to have businesses still need to have a voice to make sure that things are working for them. And unfortunately, when you change power over governments and different priorities, oftentimes small business owners kind of get left to figure it out, right?
So changing winds. So
Yeah.
This tax on, this tax off, up,
Yeah.
down. Okay, so you're trying to make it like smooth sailing, because as a small business owner myself, once you get some sort of stability, you don't want to go back to being unstable.
Absolutely
and that
not.
sucks.
Yeah, no, and so it's our job as every government changes to hold them to account to make sure that businesses are being listened to, and all types of businesses. I think that a lot of the time people see what we talk about for resource projects in the media, and those are big projects, so they need like a loud support, especially from a community where it might impact quite a bit. But that doesn't mean that the Chamber doesn't support like new innovation, clean energy, and alternative energy projects, because that's another way of powering our economy, right?
Totally. There's too much. People think it's an either or,
Right?
Like
Yeah.
like either social media is corrupting us all, or it's not. Like, no, it can be a balance. Like there's always this level of like, guys, you can take a little bit this side, take a little bit that side. So you're trying to be like the business leveling plate.
Absolutely, because we are, right? And I don't think it needs to be as polarized as everybody makes it out to believe. There are really great people in business that are doing things just to help their community. Just like in every other type of industry, there's bad people who abuse the powers that they get, and there's good people who try to, help it out, right? So that's definitely a common misconception out there that we only support this. It's just that needs a loud voice. That's federal in nature. That needs to see a whole community saying, yeah, we want this, right?
Yeah, I guess if you're talking about the pipeline, that's a challenging conversation regardless. I feel like at this point they've just wasted so much time and money on reports and stuff that they should have pulled the plug long ago, or said, hey, it's happening full steam. But that's, again, outside of the jurisdiction of the municipality regardless. So it's difficult for people, I guess, to understand who controls what, because in the end they look to you guys as the business leaders, as the political leaders, as you guys are the ones championing a whole bunch of voices. Well, it would make sense that they have power there, which explaining how power works is difficult.
And I think power is relative in a lot of ways. But
Totally.
For us, like, we work with all levels of government. So, a pipeline project affects all three levels. So we're going to be communicating to all three. We've been really vocal on that stopping the time change over the last few years. We helped Bob and Tara really bring policy forward that made it to the BC Chamber floor. And so that's the type of thing that we do. It's our people or business owners say, hey, there's an issue and it's impacting us. And we try and create a business case for why the government needs to change what it does.
Totally.
And a lot of time it ends up, with conversations with government about how we move forward, and then we're back into an election cycle, so we have to keep fighting for those same things. But as we see with the time change, if you put in the work and you stick with it, things will happen if people are passionate enough about it.
Yeah, it does suck when you see, every 4 years that chance of losing all the ground that you've made. And businesses are really the heart of the community, right? They create the economy, right? Like, if you're not building a strong, healthy local economy, what are you building?
And people need jobs. Like, regardless, like, I know jobs is always a big election platform, but to have something that gives you self-worth if you can't do it on your own, and that sense of belonging or purpose in a community, or maybe you have a family that you want to provide for, like, having employment is so much more than having a job. And
sure.
Business owners, especially like small to medium-sized business owners, they try to create excellent environments for their employees to thrive in. And so there needs to be investment for those people who are investing in our community.
Yeah,
right?
the smaller the place that I've worked, the more flexible they have been with me.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's something like 85% of Canada's businesses are small to medium enterprises.
Yes.
Right? So it's not just supporting these big, massive things, right? It's the 85% that do need the voice, the support, and they're the ones...
Yeah, who don't have like a department that they can flag all these issues to, right? It's like them trying to research government policy that's like a foreign language to them in the middle of the night because during the day they're running their business, right?
Yeah, there's things I just don't bother learning. And everyone's like, it's so easy. I'm like, yeah, but that requires me to learn it and spend time, and I have no interest.
Yeah.
I'll either pay you to do it, or I'm not going to do it at all, or you can do it for free for me, but I just won't do that.
Yeah, and a lot of people just don't have the resources, right? And like spare time and downtime is like at a premium for people, and the last thing they want to do is research, okay, what is this government policy? What do I then have to do to figure out how to change it? Who do I have to get to help me support it? And then how do I move it forward? Like there's a lot of steps. You can't just be like, hey, can you change this for me?
But like compare that to like, you know, the early 1900s when the chamber was first started, and they might not even have books in town that could be you'd have to go to Kelowna, or like you don't have access to information. Like this isn't a day where like in 5 minutes I could find the information. Mm-hmm. Okay, but now I have to understand it.
Yeah.
And you know,
and
talking
you
with
are
like,
now inundated with much like exponentially more information than they were back then, right?
And I think to like Christian Shaw, who's like plunging ahead with his business and all about accessibility, and like if I didn't have the brain that I have, certain things would not be accessible to me. You know, like that's a competitive advantage. That's, you know, I understand that. That's a privilege. But man, Christian needs to be able to compete too.
Absolutely, and he's got a product that's like almost unmatched by anybody else in the market.
It makes sense.
Because it's from that experience, right? And it's incredible to see people like that actually trying to make a go of it in the community.
The reality is like the whole, even just, you know, can you bring a wheelchair into this business, or is there a place to park? Like that deserves to have, you know, a special badge on Google Maps.
It does. Yeah.
And he can be the guy who like spearheads that deal with Google, but you just got to figure out how to get him in front of Google to sell the idea, right?
And that's, you know, part of what we do at the Chamber is help build awareness for small business owners. So, you know, we're lucky. We have a pretty big network of over 600 businesses. We talk to them all the time. So, you know, for businesses that are thinking about, you know, how to connect with more people, this is a pretty affordable avenue for them. And so, and then we also have the ability to work through our network because there's chambers in all of the other communities in the province. So, you know, if some of our members are looking for a little bit more, we have the potential to tap into that to either find them, you know, contacts or referrals so that they can spread their message further.
So what other resources does the Chamber provide that maybe people aren't familiar with? You know, like just like the library gives you access to audiobooks on your cell phone. Did you guys know that? Get a library card.
So we do like money saving benefits. So a lot of people join the Chamber because we have access to group insurance, and they want to provide, you know, benefits for their employees. So nationally, we have a plan that is pretty affordable for the small business owner. So
that's huge.
Yeah, and then you can pay for it monthly. So it just, you know, it's a monthly payment, and then your membership's actually paid right in there, so you kind of don't even think about it.
I was chatting with someone I used to manage, and they're like, yeah, we got insurance now. And I left them. I'm just like, what? It's huge.
It's huge.
Like to go from like, you know, number 2 employee to like getting insurance for the employee, right? Which was not something you would ever think was possible. Yeah. Right? Because you're scraping by.
Yeah.
Because you're an early employee, right?
Like insurance.
Yeah. You know, that doesn't exist. It's feast or famine. You eat or you don't. You know, you sleep on the floor when you have to.
And like health, just in talking to business owners, healthcare, the state of healthcare in the province and in Canada is like one of the number one issues for people. It is for business owners too. So, you know,
lifestyle and you know, having a healthy lifestyle is and a balance with work and making sure people are. I guess the people equate, you know, minimum wage to like having a good lifestyle, but there's other ways to accommodate. Like maybe you don't need to start at 8:30 because maybe the bus doesn't allow you to get there until like 10:45. okay, so you start at 10:45. Like
Yeah.
that like hour and a half difference of adjustment and schedule for that one person could be the difference of like keeping the certain minimum wage they already have, or like actually working with the restraints of their lifestyle that gives them prosperity, right?
Yeah,
So like,
so then that way they can thrive without having to change their own, systems that they have already in place, right?
it's debilitating to like throw your systems out. Like I see I watch the street people a lot, right? And then I see when they lose their bag, right? Like, and I know they had this one bag and now it's gone. It's like you're at ground zero again, right? Like like your whole life support is just gone.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable for a healthy community to just like
No.
feel like everything can be ripped out.
Yeah.
And as a small business owner, I had my internet go down for like over 48 hours. I was irate on the phone.
I bet.
They did
That's
not
your
like me.
lifeline, right? Like you need it.
Oh, I was not happy. But anyways, beyond that, what do you do in the community for yourself? What hobbies does Acacia, if I said that right, do?
Yeah, you did. Well, I played a lot of softball. I've always played sports growing up, so I play on 3 nights a week around town. It's just like fun outdoor activity for me.
Is that like a young adults sort of league, or is that a drop-in league?
It's like slow pitch. So I've been with one team for like a decade. Been playing since I was like 16, and then my other team's just a lot of people around our age that are just working and playing ball.
How big what do you think the biggest sport in Kamloops is?
Oh,
because like I'm not from here and I'm not like super like sportsy, but like I understand that this is a tournament capital and there is a obvious play in sports, media, broadcasting, tournaments, yada yada yada.
Oh, absolutely. I think that it depends on who you talk to. Soccer, I think, is probably the most heavily enrolled, and we probably host the most soccer tournaments. But there is a massive amount of people in this community who play slow pitch or recreational baseball. And it's like we just hosted the Co-Ed Worlds out at the ranch, and there was thousands of people from all over Canada that came here, and like hundreds of Kamloops people who were playing in that, right?
See, I like baseball, but you're limited to like North America, right?
Yeah,
like soccer can really go international.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I think a lot of the people playing slow pitch are the ones that just want a thing to do after work.
Yeah,
and
they're
have a beer or whatever, right?
Baseball's always been a pickup game, and that's the way my mom always approached it and taught us. Like, we'd play baseball at school until we hit a kid in the eye with a hard ball, and
No more
principal shut that
baseball.
down. No more baseball.
But yeah, I live in Brock, so I go for walks all the time down to the airport with my little dog.
Hey, I'm in Brock too.
Nice.
Shout out Brock.
Shout out Brock. Yeah.
I like Brock.
Good old Fleetwood. That's.
Hey, I'm on Fleetwood too.
No way. I'm down close, like by the George Hilliard. No, yeah, that's where they're moving the students over at George Hilliard. There.
I'm like directly behind where the school burned down.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I probably walk by your house all the time.
Yeah, you probably see like my like dirty Escape with like Kameo and duct tape on the back.
Yeah, I have. I think I know now. Yep.
Yeah, my little duplex. There was ash in my yard after
really?
that fire.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how much actually burned down.
I know. We walked by the other
realize.
night. I couldn't believe like how much it actually burned down, and it was crazy because like drove by it the night of the fire, and the storm was just like I couldn't believe how thick it was, and it was still burning until like late into the night, and then to see the damage like once the smoke cleared, it's nuts. I can't believe how much burned down.
I can't. The likelihood of the second day back of school, the only one with no water system, electrical failure, and boom, down you go. Crazy. Cool to see what the community pulled together, but absolutely ridiculous in like a modern sense of like, I have a kid who's going to go to school pretty soon. That would have been their school. Like, what?
And it one of my teammates at the chamber, her daughter went there, and it's devastating for the students that went there. That's like your world when you're a child. You have home and you have school, and you might not look forward to school, but it's like that place for you, right? So to see it burn down or to like, to be gone, like I could see why those kids would be upset. I could also see there'd be a lot of them that would be like, best day ever, no school, but then it like sinks in, no, my school is gone.
Yeah.
And then they get upset, right? So
like I know one of the teachers who was there, like had like so much stuff collected over the decades or whatever being there. It was like probably worth 20 grand is what they estimated, right?
no.
Of books and posters and memorabilia, right? Like there's that whole like, you can't actually calculate it because like these teachers do end up turning their classroom into their second home, and a classroom is really an extension of a teacher, which honestly, if I could do a podcast with like 12 episodes of just teachers, that would be really interesting, like one from each grade.
Yeah, that would be really cool,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, I'd like that one.
Right?
Yeah.
And do it in their podcast, in their actual classroom.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't remember school, but I remember the feelings of the classrooms and the environments that each teacher made.
Yeah. And I think it'd be cool, too, if you, like, focused on different, programs. So you maybe got like a music teacher in one grade
sure.
and then like a trades teacher in another grade, just to like hear different perspectives, because like depending on the class, kids act different too, right? So I'm sure their experiences, although similar, would be
fourth grade boys, oh my gosh, they'd be the worst.
12 to undefined girls, probably really bad too.
Like I talk with my wife once in a while about like her high school experience to mine, and like it was like insanely night and day. Like what she relates to watching shows on Netflix and what I relate to is insanely different.
Oh, crazy.
It's just strange. Like or even just like the concept of like doing soccer. She never had the opportunity to like do soccer,
right.
You know, at like 7 years old, and you're on that like bunch ball soccer where you're all just bouncing into each other, fighting over the ball.
No one keeps score or anything. They're just like kicking a ball around.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
So it's interesting to watch her perspective and my perspective, but like to channel it through the teachers, I think it would. I think people would get a much better, clearer understanding of like how some kids are just so much further ahead in life at that age because of their environments.
Absolutely.
And the fact of the matter is like these teachers are like some of the only parental figures these kids have.
Yeah, and that's actually the case in a lot of situations in Kamloops and just in North America, where like the positive influence or role model in a child's life is someone at the institution that they go to. And so, you know, I was really lucky in school. I had awesome teachers, and they like brought out the best in me and the students that they had. And they did that by creating the environment that made people feel comfortable to learn and to be safe, right? So it absolutely has factors into how people succeed down the road, whether it's environments in school or at home. And like, I think teachers have the biggest opportunity to make such a good impact in kids' lives, because they can be that kind of beacon for kids who maybe don't have it so good at home. Do
you remember that one teacher, like when someone says like, who's their teacher, like someone's in your mind right now?
Yeah, so my grade 4 teacher is Mrs. Valentinuzzi. My parents divorced in that year, so it was pretty tough on me, and I definitely was like that kid who didn't want to go home because I didn't want to deal with those emotions. And so she definitely just took me under her wing. She gave me extra projects to do to just kind of comfort me, and then she actually got me to open up and talk about it, which was tough at that time. The oldest of 3 kids, they really tried to hold it in. So, and she was just instrumental in that year of transition for me. And she even came to my high school graduation in like 2010. So it was awesome. So yeah, someone like that had such a huge impact on my life. And
you're 27.
Yeah.
So we graduated the same year.
Oh, okay.
You're just much farther along in life than me. You have more clout. More of that Kamloops clout.
It's just because I'm a lifer, right? And I was Miss Kamloops, and a lot of people don't think that means a lot, but it meant that I got out into the community and I was able to build my network.
Yeah, and this community it's small but growing.
Yes.
Right, like it's the cost of membership to meet 5 people who really could take your business to the next level. Yeah, that's less than most people spend on tickets gambling a year, but I don't gamble, so
yeah, I don't either. I think I've done slots like twice, and it's just because the buttons look nice. Like, it doesn't appeal to me.
I straight up just can't do it. Like, I'd rather just like at least know I'll get like a gumball and maybe I'll get a free movie. You know, like
True.
If I'm gonna gamble, like that's it.
Guaranteed prize in some way.
So we were talking about you're involved in softball. What's another hobby of yours that maybe isn't so active something a little bit quieter?
I'm an avid puzzler. I like to spend time, reflecting on thoughts and alone, and I'll puzzle.
Do you rent the puzzles from the board game place?
No, I buy them, and then sometimes I frame them, but I actually give a lot of them away. I have a few other friends who like to puzzle, so once I'm done with it, I'll just give it on. I also like to rock karaoke at the Poke Mahone because it's a block and a half away from my house, so Friday nights there, it's fun. And
their music bingo is fun too.
Music bingo is fun. Yeah, I really like it.
I used to do Poke Mahone like every music bingo for a good little while because the in-laws wanted to go, and so the wife and I would just we lived down the street. You know that townhouse across from the Gemstone where the guy got shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to live there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good way to explain where I used to live.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wasn't surprised when that happened. But no, the Post is great.
Yeah, no, and
another place that burned down once.
That's what. Yeah, it's crazy, hey, but it's rebuilt and it's awesome. So
Kamloops just loves being on fire.
It does. It really does. Whether it's the forests or the buildings
or the hockey team, soccer team, weed. We got Amsterdam now.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because we only have one private weed shop right now.
Yeah, and so I have heard that some other private ones have received their provincial approval, and so just the timeline on that, our city did a fantastic job of approving, I think, 15, and then they were held up at the province waiting for that approval, so I know now things are starting to get going.
That's good.
It's
I feel for all those people holding the leases, though.
Me too. I know a few people who've just opted out because
tens of thousands of dollars just down the hole, just drained, just to landlords and can't recoup a single cent back.
And when that money could have been, if it was done quickly, could have been taxed, could have been putting good product into consumers' hands and all that stuff. But it just,
Or they could have found in the first 3 months that they didn't want to be in the business and closed up shop then, and moved on, and bing bang boom,
it's done. Right?
It's over, right?
You're not waiting months to make that decision, right? Yeah.
That would be the most challenging thing for someone like myself to be like, okay, I'm finally taking the leap to do something that I want to do to support myself, and then be so held up because of regulations that just didn't exist until 7 months ago or a year, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's really disheartening for a lot of people who wanted to enter the market and go through everything in the correct channels that were put out in front of them. And it's kind of unfair when you look at, I've done some research into what other communities, and I think it was Salmon Arm had 5, and we had only had the 1 that was even open. So I don't even understand how, I know that Dave Jones at the city was working super fast to work with people on their approvals. And so I can't imagine that they would have been held up here. So the holdup was with the province, but yet other municipalities over the province were able to get them through quicker. So it didn't, from the outside looking in, there doesn't look like there was a lot of consistency about how things were put forward.
I can't even trust the government to pay its own employees. So like a phoenix rising from the ashes, the black market is just as strong as it once was. But anyways.
Yeah, that's why I'm sure you've read that article that says British Columbia is the second from the bottom on their cannabis sales. And it's because people in British Columbia, I'm sure, are still going to where they were going to before. In fact, in some of the feedback that I've heard from some of the people interested in opening up shops, is that their clientele really they weren't going to want to switch into going to private because they were getting a better price, better product from the people they were getting it from before. So it's I think for people in British Columbia, it's not surprising that those numbers are the way they are. But
anyway. That's also an industry and an economy that's been a decade strong in Canada, in the whole mail order world. So it's much like, let's talk about vapes, right? Like you have Todd Stone coming after vapes. It's like, well, you're coming after it too late. You let the distribution systems become mature, and now you want to come after them, which they have to.
Which they have to. It's now a medical concern, right?
But it's if you wanted to be effective, you should have had the issue 5 years ago when the distribution systems were getting figured out. but now kids got Snapchat, so good luck. So, so it's yeah, like you guys are learning Facebook still. That's cute. I see you trying on Instagram. Cute. You guys are so adorable. Let's talk about Snapchat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I want to clown on older people and who are making policy, because their policy is so dated that it's not going to be effective at this point.
And that's why it's so important to have representation talking to the people making policy, and that's where the strength of the chamber really comes in, because it is although people don't see it this way, it is a collective of businesses. It's people who opt in and vote to have their say on issues that we bring forward. Like, it's not mandatory by any means. This is people choosing to be a part of something bigger than them, and we only bring forward policy that our members bring to us, right? So, if young business people or the new generation of leaders have ideas or issues that are important to them, they can bring it forward to our organization. We can go and deal with those people who are maybe dated in their approach to how they look at policy, right? So it's
nice.
It's actually really interesting. Like, I sat in a meeting with 12 different deputy ministers, and was by far the youngest person in the room. But I got to bring forward like the issues that our people in Kamloops were dealing with, things like the time change, things like the truck driver training, all sorts of things like that. And I was able to actually give a different perspective to how these issues are impacting our community. And it was great, because they definitely took those comments to heart, because from where it was coming from. So I think it's starting to happen, where we're getting young people, new ideas, new schools of thought into the people that are making these policies, but we have to do it a lot more. And that's why things like what you're doing, getting people just to talk about what's happening around them, is great, because I think that there's a lot of people who think young people are apathetic, but I think there's also a lot of young people who just don't feel like they're going to be heard in any other format, right?
Oh, we got other ways to talk.
Exactly.
Young people, we're a special breed.
We are.
Do you feel like people judge you for your nose ring and tattoos?
No, I don't know. I've had tattoos for a while. I normally rock a septum piercing, but I try not to do that during the week too.
I used to have a nose piercing, but
yeah,
I got rid of it. It fell out. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Happens. Piercings.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I was really worried about it when I was younger, just because I grew up in I guess you could say, with conservative values. My grandparents helped raise me a lot of the time, so a lot of those values were instilled in me. But as I kind of grew up, I honestly recognize that it doesn't make a difference in who I am and the type of work that I deliver, what I look like. So I'm just going to be happy with what I look like and do whatever I want. So
I agree, right? Like 100%. Like I just watch the shifts culturally, right? From like when we were in high school, like, don't you ever pierce your ear and stretch it, like a whole bunch of messed up stuff. And now those guys, they're business leaders. They're it's things that tattoos are fine in a professional setting now.
Yeah, and I think that that's just going to become more normalized as time goes on.
Face tattoos are next.
Oh, that's a big commitment. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure about face for myself personally.
I got a guy who's going to face tattoo CAUG above his eyebrow in exchange for a moderator badge of a Facebook forum. It's great. I arranged that last night. If he does it, so funny.
Wow. And I thought people were intense having a Cammy the Fish tattoo. That's intense.
Oh, man. Like, this is a guy I never met in Nova Scotia who's just like, yo, man, I want to be a moderator. I'm like, okay. If you do this, I might be able to do it for you. And he's like, okay.
So is he going to, he should probably video when he gets the tattoo, right? So that he can repurpose that.
I made a joke that he was a pig.
Oh.
Because he's an ex-jailbird, so fuck the police sort of character.
Gotcha.
So he ended up tattooing hog on his face already after one joke I made. So I believe he's gonna do it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Are you ready to give up that moderator badge?
I already got it arranged. It's funny what people would do. He's a big fan of this Canadian rapper Tom McDonald,
Okay.
who has hog tattooed here, and he's not a great person in my opinion. But that's another whole other story. But what do you listen to? What sort of music do you listen to, or what kind of shows would you like to see come to Kamloops? Since I like talking about how Kamloops should grow its entertainment sector.
I would love to see Kamloops grow its entertainment sector, and that's actually like one of the focus areas kind of in my personal time that I've been trying to work on, just because I think vibrancy really adds to like a whole entire community, and vibrancy looks like different to how different people interpret art, right? So
Entertainment is lifestyle,
it
and
is.
just you know, I don't know, like dancing is entertainment. That's lifestyle, music lifestyle. Like it's all about making a happy, healthy community.
Absolutely.
That's what art brings.
Yeah.
That's the value of art, is happiness.
Exactly. And so, there's some business owners who are pretty vocal in Kamloops about the lack of infrastructure in place for us to even take on larger, entertainment productions, right? And so I think that there's a real missed opportunity for this region when we're not looking at, entertainment and media as, boosts to our economy. We hosted that amazing race party that Tourism Kamloops did, and when they held the event here, or held the recording here, and it brought in millions of dollars just in a week of recording the amazing race. Like that's money that's being spent in hotels, at restaurants, renting cars. Like it's being spent here, and that's good money that we need. So I also really think that people in the province or in Canada just need more people being their cheerleader. And so for our big Made in BC Expo, there's going to be a whole Made in BC component around the arts. So we'll have Made in BC performers,
this
visual.
month? Or is
No, that's going to be in April.
April.
Well, actually, April, May, we're still locking in a date. And we are looking at a new venue actually to host it, which will be great. But
cool.
I've been a musician most of my life. I played piano since I was 5, and saxophone and flute, and I sing a little bit, so the arts and music's always had a really big impact with me, and I felt like there just needs to be more people helping spread what local people are doing. So it's on a side note, that's just like a little passion of mine, but personally, I have not stopped listening to the new Tool album since it came out.
Oh, you're one of those people.
I am
Okay.
one of those people.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You're one of those millennials who wishes they were a boomer. I'm sorry.
It's unfortunate. No,
Yeah.
I just really like Maynard, and I like his sound, and so I was really looking forward to seeing what this is going to be like, because I was way too young to appreciate Tool when they were really big.
I'm glad I was way too young when they were really big. I don't want to appreciate Tool at all.
Well, I do. That's one. I'm really into electronic music. I went through this whole phase of really being into being disgusted with like vaporwave music, but then really getting into
the
it.
aesthetic.
Yeah.
The girl who's just doing this at the windowsill. The streaming girl with the pink sweater. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
But actually, shout out to why am I blanking on his name right now? On the Rocks Pub often throws shows. High Society throws a lot of EDM shows, and they're bringing some big acts to town.
Nice.
And why am I blanking on his name? His name is K. It starts with a K. Local guy. He's the manager of On the Rocks, and that's where he throws a lot of his shows. But he's been bringing a lot of interesting EDM acts there, and like having really, really good shows. Like for Kamloops, he might be one of like the more interesting promoters of like the talent that he's pulling on through on a consistent basis. There's some small shows like that happening in Kamloops that like they just don't get enough attention.
Yeah, like I'd love to go check out small shows like that, and I feel like I'm always like I find out about it the day after it happens, or I'm just
that's
not
on
in
promoters.
the know,
That's on promoters. That's on Kamloops actually showing up when a show gets on. Saturday night was like a rap show at CJ's, which is pretty cool that CJ's gave a Saturday night to local rappers, and they put on a pretty good show. And they actually brought out a fair bit of kids, but that was also a very interesting demographics to see.
Yeah.
Being the old grandpa of a man that I was.
Oh, yeah. Was it a lot of young people?
Very young.
Yeah.
But
That's how I would feel like anytime I go into CJ's. Like I went to one of the ski tour nights that they did there, and I definitely felt like I was too old to be in that place.
But it was very valuable for someone who, comes from, my livelihood will depend on those kids too.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
You
but got to know the
CJ's,
kids.
CJ's 100% should be trying to book Lil Nas X, because I think Lil
Yes.
Nas X needs to come to Kamloops.
He does need to
this
come
is
to
like
Kamloops.
literally the only city in Canada that makes sense for him to come, right? Like, we don't need Donald Trump's porn star coming. No. We need Lil Nas X.
We need Lil Nas X. We really do. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
I think that's what the chamber should get on.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you guys bring Lil Nas X to town, I will sign up for a chamber membership.
Only that, though,
only,
will get your membership.
Only that. Like, that's the bar has been set. Actually, no, it's more like I just don't have, like, the spare whatever dollars around, which is a reality.
And it's the reality of a lot of people, and we get it. So, the chamber's not going anywhere, and when people are ready, it can be a resource for them, right?
Was the Kameo the Fish stuff, was that you behind that? Yeah.
Well, so we've owned the trademark for Kameo since
a long time.
Yeah, I think like the 70s, like since its inception in the 60s, because it was brought forward as mascot. So, we've been really thinking about how we want to move forward, and then in doing that, we really looked at our history and kind of seen where we've come. And Kameo's really been, a nice part of Kamloops history that we hear a lot of really awesome stories in the community about. And so it's not like a primary service for us to offer, like, sell clothing, but we want to help build up community spirit, and Kameo kind of embodies that. So
why Etsy? Why did you choose Etsy to distribute?
Well, we did this was actually a nightmare for us.
That's how I knew it was you.
This is how.
As soon as I saw it was Etsy, I'm like, okay.
So I need to explain the whole process, because what happened, we just transitioned over to a brand new CRM with a new website. It has an online store, so we're like, perfect, it's going to be great. And with my very, very new team, we're still trying to figure out all the ins and outs of this online store through our CRM. And in the 11th hour, it wouldn't be compatible with how we were, like, it just wouldn't work with our back end. So we had to just drop everything, research different web platforms to sell our products. And Nick at my office has a little bit of experience with Etsy, so he presented us with 3, and we went forward with the 1 just so that we could get it to market right away.
I thought it was funny. I did, and but you know what? Like, I knew that it was your, like, hey, we actually just have to do it. And in that, like, it almost created a little bit more hype.
It did. It absolutely did.
The drop.
Yeah.
Because, like, drop culture is really street culture, right? Like, hey, we have 500 pairs or whatever you had. They're out when they're out. You get them when they're gone. Yeah. Otherwise, they're gone, right? So, like, I like that. I thought it was really, really funny.
And I'll be honest with you, like, this was a total test for us. We were not sure how, because Kameo has been brought back for a while, so we're just wanting to test the market and see how it went. And within 24 hours, we're sold out. So, obviously people love their Kameo, and we understand the love for that now, which is good. But
see, I would love you to take it to the next level of, like, having a Saturday morning Kameo the Fish show, television breakfast show with its own cereal.
With its own Kameo
yes,
cereal.
There has to be a Kameo the Fish cereal. Yeah, or iced tea.
Do you know any local food manufacturers that would add cereal to their list of offerings?
No, you can just white label it. It could just be like off-brand Cheerios.
No, if I'm going to do a Kameo cereal, I'm going to do it the right way. Oh, no.
We already have the Fruit Loops. Because, like, Rap Loops literally just took, like, Toucan Sam and put, like, Tekashi 6ix9ine dreadlocks on him and had it smoking a joint, and that's, like, their logo.
That's Rap Loops now.
That's rap. Like, it's, right? Like, you just take something, you make it yours.
We'll see. We've got a whole, like, idea bank of what we want to do with Kameo. So cereal was not on the list, though.
Cereal, it should be on the list.
It should be.
Like, just like, you wake up in the morning. Like, think of, like, how many people stare at the honeybee on their Cheerios. every morning, right?
Yeah.
And like how good a reminder it'd be to be like, be a good person as you pour your thing. And it's like, be a good Cami business person. And yum, yum, yum. Be a good person. Like, that's what Cami's supposed to represent. At least that's what he represents to me as a newcomer to this world.
No, I think that's Cami represents just celebrating the great parts of who you are and being here in Kamloops, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of nostalgia there for people, and and people interpret Cami differently. You know, they had the lady come in who said for her husband's 50th birthday, they got him a tattoo of Cami, and it's like he's so proud to have it that they came in and bought socks like right away, right?
Yeah.
So Cami's its own thing, and I think that we're bringing back Cami in a lot of different ways. So I'm hoping the community will be really pumped with that.
You should have Cami join the Power Rangers in their clip when they're like, going to Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
Or like have Cami join Blake Lively when she's playing soccer in Mexico.
Oh my gosh.
Actually here in Kamloops.
In here.
Just
just throw Cami's little
everywhere. It'd be like Where's Waldo with Cami.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do a contest around town. See how many
100%.
people can find him. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
100%, right? You start having like little Cami stickers just like there with a little QR code. Now you're geocaching.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. Is there anything that we haven't chatted about, Acacia, that maybe we want to put on record?
Well, I think that a lot of people think the chamber is only for big business, or it's not for them, and I just like to have conversations with people to understand where they are, right? So I think if people are open to learning about what the chamber is and how it could be a benefit for them, then I definitely want to talk with them.
But you guys also do like cool mixers at like horse barn, places.
Horse places. Yeah, we actually were at a couple of horse places in the last year, but we try to just go around to our different members and throw networking events there, but also showcase the member, right? So when we were at the Therapeutic Riding Association, it was their opportunity to talk about how they help their clients, right? So, if people are looking to connect or they're new to the community and they're just starting out in business and don't have a lot of connections, we can kind of be that introduction for them. But I'm also, I'm new in my role, and we're creating a new path for the chamber. So if there are people who run businesses that have ideas, I'm open, and I just want to talk with them. So I hope that if anyone's, business owner and is listening to your podcast, that they'd, be open to maybe reaching out to me or having me reach out to them, because I'd love to chat. Yeah,
I appreciate you being approachable. That's it's pretty chill. As someone who's like knows the business community but likes to be on the outside, it's nice to have someone that will come and level with you. And even though I am rather aggressive online at times, and other times I'm a nice person, who knows? You never know what it's going to be. I'm like Amy Giddens in a way. Shout out Amy Giddens. Yeah. I hope you're doing all right, my friend. I know you just had surgery. But let's what is the best avenue for people to reach out to you if they do want to reach out? You can send me an email. It's acacia@kamloopschamber.ca. It's a lot of CAs. Or I'm on Facebook, Acacia Leilani for Instagram. You can also call the office if anyone feels like picking up a phone. But Instagram's dope, though, because you can do voice notes. It's like and video and just call. Like, Instagram's honestly my preferred, just everything
Instagram is my preferred, too. And actually a lot of our not a lot, but there's quite a few business owners now that are starting to communicate with our team through those channels. So, we're really open there to communicating with people too. Oh man, there's so many tricks to Instagram that I just see all these business owners looking, just like, come on, if you just did this, it'd be just that bit more. But hey, I can't teach everyone. We're gonna get there. We're gonna teach them eventually. Yep. They're slow. Well, and my team at the chamber is awesome. Nick, who runs our communications, is really savvy, and so I'm hoping that our members kind of look at that as maybe an example of hey, maybe this is a way you could go about your social media. But even what we're doing now is teaching people about how to blueprint and how to plan out stuff and be a little bit proactive, because some business owners don't have time to do it all the time. So if they can offload some of it intentionally, then it's good for them. I think once they see how
your team's able to like so easily communicate with them through Instagram, like even by just like starting to use voice notes, just because like here's a text explanation, here's a picture explanation, here's a voice note that comes all together. You've hit all 3 learning styles.
Yeah.
Now it's like go do. And when business owners see that and be like, oh, wait, I could sell a car this way rather than just sitting on my phone playing Candy Crush, I could sell a car.
Yeah.
Like, I can't explain how many cars I sold for clients across Canada just because I was able to text message with people.
Right?
Like the guys in Ontario. I'm selling a car I've never seen. But since I would text with him, because he can't pick up his phone, it was like night or day.
Yeah.
And once people get into voice notes, oh my gosh, once people start getting used to voice notes, that's when we start seeing like people actually like start realizing how powerful their phone is, of actually communicating something of value quickly, effectively, because people aren't going to listen to your voice note if you aren't saying something of value.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that, you know, for us, we really want to be communicating where our people are. And so our people connect with us through social media, so we communicate with them there, right? And it makes sense. If that's where they are and that's where they want to communicate, why would we miss that opportunity to communicate with them? You can really use your social tools to create more of your client or guest experience, right? If it's personal like that and you can communicate with them that way, it just like elevates your brand with them.
You got that gangbusters group chat going that like everyone's a part of?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, like and comment my latest post, guys. Hit me up. Which is really funny because if people do that, putting emojis is useless. You need to put 4 original text-based words. Liking and commenting just 100 symbols or like your favorite emoji is dumb. Don't do it. It's a waste of your time.
I think people will get there eventually, and then they'll change it again, so it won't people will have to learn again, right?
That's why I don't bother with, like, so all the best practices I don't do.
Yeah.
It's like I know them all. I don't need to follow them because I don't care. But if you want to play this game, all right, you got to play it fully, because right now you're playing with a 2-year-old deck, and you're actually not doing it very well.
Yeah.
But, people will come along. Facebook is the big one right now, but I do see, the transition to Instagram, right? Because people are getting tired of Facebook.
Yeah.
But Facebook is doing some very proactive things to avoid that. TikTok's going to be the exciting one, though. TikTok, 56% of its audience can't be reached on any other platform. So
interesting.
Yeah, and you now have like access to music, and I can go on TikTok all day. Anyone who's doing global business out of Kamloops needs to be looking at TikTok, because you could literally go from nothing to somebody overnight on that platform right now. That's the real opportunity. But that's my random tangent. Thanks for listening to my podcast. Please be sure to check out the Chamber of Commerce. They do have their social nights. So the Kamloops Chamber of Commerce, look them up on Google, because I don't know what their website is, and everyone Googles everything anyways. Be sure to subscribe on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm going to be doing 4 of these a month minimum. I already just released Ian Curry of the Federal Green Party yesterday. I'm going to be trying to get more election-based podcasts out, because I think that's valuable information. But I also want to meet more people in the community, as many people as I can, to talk. So if you know someone, here's my number. Feel free to have them text me, 250-572-4668. Just text me a little bit more than, hey, give me a reason to respond. Anyways, that's it. That's all. Thanks for meeting with me.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Bye.